Hello and welcome to Stegman Coliseum in Athens, Georgia, where Tennessee just improved to 2-1 in conference play, but it wasn't without some drama and some theatrics here at Georgia. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor. We're with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network, and Tennessee felt good in the first half. They take a lead by 14 points with 4 minutes to go off of a Zakai Ziegler steal and score. For the final 4 minutes of the half, Tennessee goes scoreless, gets blanked, gives up a 9-0 run. You come out of the half, Georgia instantly hits 2 3-pointers, takes the lead, make it a 15-0 run, and next thing you know, Tennessee felt like they were in trouble. However, a dominant performance down the stretch led by Dalton Knecht, 36 points on the game, and Tennessee somehow finds a way to leave Athens, Georgia with a win. Noah, your thoughts on Dalton Knecht tonight?
Yeah, I think for him in Tennessee specifically, it's got to feel good that he had that kind of game and you came out on the winning end of it, because you go back to that North Carolina game. He's a guy that just plays different on the road. He seems to kind of feed off that, plays really well. You could say Tennessee doesn't win this game without him, obviously. And then Mississippi State even. I know Zakai played really well earlier this week in that game, but another game.
Kept them in it.
Yeah, he keeps them in it. He brings them back with 26 second half points. So for him to come out and do this and finish it off with a win and dominate the way that he did, it has got to feel really good for Tennessee, because before, it just kind of felt like nothing was going their way. You talk about the 2 threes that they opened with, or they opened the second half with. Every time Dalton Knecht would hit a shot, Georgia would come down and answer with a 3, it seemed like. So it has to feel really good for him and Tennessee that they can win this kind of game with him. And he's scored a lot of points on the road this season, but there hasn't been a game where they've come out on the winning end of it yet. When you look at North Carolina, Mississippi State, they're able to do that today, obviously.
Looking at the numbers, 36 points on 12 for 20 shooting. That's 60% from the field, elite numbers. 5 for 8 from distance, including a hand in his face, contested 3-pointer late in that game. Really the kind of gut punch to Georgia and to all the fans in the stadium. You could kind of hear the air get taken out when that one went through. He also adds 4 rebounds, a block and a steal, and adds in 3 assists. So just an all-around dominant game for Dalton Knecht. As we mentioned, he's a different guy on the road. They would like to see a little bit more of that in TBA, maybe, but over 30 points per game on the road through 4 road matches so far this year. So Dalton Knecht, welcome back. I guess he went through a little bit of a rough stretch, it felt like, to his standards, at least around the new year. In these last 2 games against Mississippi State and now against Georgia, he has gone absolutely nuclear. And it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of keep that going, keep that momentum going, because right now he's making a very strong case to be on an All-SEC first team, to be the SEC Player of the Year, and be in the conversation for National Player of the Year. What's going to help is if Tennessee keeps winning, obviously, but they're going to escape this week 1-1 in 2 really gritty, close games. When you go back to the loss against Mississippi State, though, something that stood out was Tolu Smith's ability to score in the paint. That was a big emphasis after the game. That was a big emphasis in practice leading up to this game, and a big emphasis in this game from Rick Barnes, getting on to Jonas Aidoo and Tobe Awaka. Well, Jonas Aidoo responded with a really nice game. What were your thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, a guy that, the first half of this season was playing the best ball that he's played since he's been at Tennessee, and then you kind of saw some inconsistencies there. And every time it seemed like this year, you mentioned Tolu Smith earlier this week, but guys like Hunter Dickinson, Zach Edey that they played, Armando Bacot earlier this season as well, kind of some struggles there in big games. And it seemed like he responded well to that. Came out today, gets 10 points, so he does it on the offensive end, and then gets 15 rebounds. So I would say that's a pretty commanding presence in the paint.
Swats away 5 shots.
Yeah, gets the 5 blocks.
Tamari Key numbers. Looking at the Lady Vols.
It was just the exact kind of response you'd want out of him. I know there was, talk. Rick Barnes had talked about having to sit down with him about consistency, and we asked him about that just now, and he talked about consistency and Rick Barnes preaching that to him. And a lot remains to be seen. You want to see these kind of performances kind of repeat themselves every week. But you couldn't ask for a better performance out of him given what they were able to do. I know Rick Barnes talked about, them being, kind of having a more dominant presence. They didn't really do that against Tolu Smith. They fouled a lot. You saw that cleaned up a little bit in the second half as well, the foul trouble. But just a really good response out of Jonas Aidoo, and you hope that kind of springs forward here in SEC play.
2 fouls for Aidoo, 2 fouls for Awaka. We're able to stay out of foul trouble. Like you said, something they weren't able to do against Mississippi State. When you look at Tobe Awaka, he only plays 7 minutes, 22 seconds tonight, which is interesting because it didn't feel like he played too poorly.
Yeah.
You look at his numbers, 3 for 3 from the field for 6 points, grabbed 2 boards, one on the offensive end, had a turnover. Didn't jump off the page in his minutes on the floor, but felt like he had a good game, finishing down low in the paint, doing things like that. But Jonas Aidoo, kind of tough to take him off the floor when he kind of responded on the defensive end like that. So a really good game from Jonas, but in the same vein, don't want to take anything away from maybe Tobe, despite not playing a lot. That tandem at center, they've had their struggles against elite bigs, but it feels like every game they're kind of taking a piece from the last one and starting to put it together to something bigger. Looking at kind of maybe a sour note to things, 5th-year senior Santiago Vescovi and Josiah-Jordan James left a little bit of room to be desired, I guess, out there on the floor. Mostly on the offensive end. You look at defense, and I think both of them have been great throughout this rough stretch for them. Especially Vescovi, someone that's had to learn to play defense since arriving at Tennessee. He's done a good job in the recent pressures that Tennessee's applied. But he finished the game 2 for 5, all of his shots from beyond the arc, 6 points, ends up with a plus-minus of 20. A lot of that to do with being on the floor in that final stretch, being a big piece of that defense. But offensively, not the best night for him again, just didn't really take a lot of shots. 2 for 5 isn't bad, and he made a big one down the stretch, but maybe not the level of offense you expected to see from Vescovi heading into the season. And then Josiah-Jordan James, when you look at what he did, 4 points, 2 for 9 shooting, 0 for 3 from the field. He grabbed 6 rebounds, but he's replaced by Jermaine Mashack down the stretch, which kind of shows you that Rick Barnes sees these struggles a little bit. And after the game, Rick Barnes was very complimentary of Josiah and knows that he's going to be able to work out of it, but definitely a cold stretch for those two guys on offense. Took a step in the right direction from Mississippi State, where they combined for 5 points, but still maybe not at the mark you want to see it at. It's nice when you get Dalton Knecht to go for 36, but can he sustain that? We'll have to see. It'd be nice if maybe Josiah or Vescovi, your 5th-year seniors, can step in and elevate their play on the offensive end. I want to reiterate, they haven't been bad, but on the offensive end, there's a step that they need to take to get back to where they've proven in the past that they can get to. That'll do it all from us here in Athens, Georgia, as Tennessee improves to 2-1 in conference play, 12-4 overall, and snaps a double-digit win streak for Georgia. Volunteers will return home next for a game against Florida on Wednesday?
Tuesday night
on Tuesday night at 7 on ESPN against Florida. So if you want to be up to date on everything with that game against the Gators, make sure you head to VolReport.com on the Rivals Network to get informed on everything Tennessee basketball. We have Lady Vols coverage, we have football coverage, and baseball season is starting soon as well. Thank you for watching.